Here it is, our crashed 2006 CBR1000RR project with 22,995 miles and a clean title that we bought for $2,250. So this bike took a spill into a field and hit a fence post. And while cosmetically the thing looks freaking wrecked, there really doesn't appear to be too much big damage to fix, especially when you look at it from this side. Already has a Yoshi pipe on it, which is awesome. Turning it around though reveals the side that took the slide. Fairings ripped off, clutch reservoir completely gone, high beam headlight switch broken, windscreen and brackets broken, and definitely some wiring needing to be fixed. Fork seals completely effed, dead battery, and allegedly no oil in the bike. But luckily it doesn't appear to have any structural damage. The gas tank and the crankcase cover he already repaired after the accident. So while I was able to inspect the bike cosmetically and structurally before deciding to buy it, I wasn't able to verify the condition of it mechanically, which is significantly more important than cosmetics. So I knew it was a gamble, but I just took the guy's word for it that it was a good running bike, verified by his mechanic. But the lesson here is, you can't trust everybody. How you guys doing?
Last thing you want to do is have the wrecked bike fly out of the back of the truck.
Yeah, you won't want to wreck it again.
Yeah.
Kickstand.
Kickstand. There you go.
So the story of the bike, how he told me, was this. He bought it in the end of 2023. He was out riding with his buddies in the mountains. There was a sharp corner that kind of like sloped, and he low-sided the bike into a field. It hit a cattle fence, and there was an angry farmer and getting sweared at. So that's the story of the bike being laid down and why I got it for cheap. So now comes the sketchy part of it. We could not try to fire it up at all. First of all, it had a low battery and wouldn't really crank even if we tried to. And second of all, there was no oil in the bike, and the dude had never tried to crank it up himself from the crash. Allegedly, he had a mechanic inspect it who told him the frame was straight and the engine fired up and ran great. While it was at the shop, they put some cheap oil in it, fired it up, and then drained all the oil and then sent it back to him. But there's no real strong indicator that this bike is gonna run at all. So he was asking $2,500 for it, and I wasn't going to buy it at the time, knowing that it's been crashed and nothing can really be verified right now. I'm gonna have to look at parts and just expenses before I actually give you a number I'm comfortable giving you for this bike. And he was like, look, if I can give it to you right now, how much would you pay for it? And I immediately was like, oh, this guy wants it gone. Why does this guy want it gone so bad? And I was like, $1,000. $1,000, I'll take it right now. And he was like, well, maybe not $1,000, but what about $2,200? Would you be willing to do that? So I get home, look at a couple parts. So I messaged the dude, $2,200, let's do it. I'm good with that. So he was like, all right, $2,200, let's do it. We'll load it in the truck right now. We'll bring it over to you, send me the address. So I sent him the address. And at this point, I know there was a conversation that happened behind closed doors with him and his homie, where his buddy was like, dude, why did you lower the price on him? This guy's got McLarens and Lamborghinis and stuff. Like $2,500 is nothing for this dude. And you lowered the price on him. I know, I shouldn't have. Just wanted to give him a fair price for it, you know, since I crashed the bike. And what we're gonna do to make up some of the lost money now is we're gonna tell him that the truck is out of gas. We need $100 for gas. So the dude asked me for $100 of gas money for a 10-minute drive across town. So I was like, look, I appreciate you bringing it to me, but I'll give you $50 of gas money. And he was fine with that. We had already made the deal, so he was just asking for money at this point. Let's hope this isn't too full of surprises, but let's take a look at the actual bike, get its condition, clean it up, and see what we gotta do for this thing. If we can fix this thing up for $800 to $1,000 or so, we'll still have some decent equity in this bike in the end. So our job today is just to verify that this thing actually does in fact run. First and foremost, obviously we need to put a new clutch reservoir on there. Secondly, as far as I know, the CBRs have a tilt sensor. So if you drop the bike, it automatically turns itself off. And a lot of times when you lay these bikes down and there's damage, it snaps the sensor off. So it won't let the bike start until you level it back out. And then third of all, we need to verify this gas tank was actually installed correctly and put some fluids in it. And we need a new battery, but that's it. First things first, let's go ahead and take care of the clutch fluid reservoir. It should be as simple as this one screw and then popping a new one back on after we clean it up and filling it with brake fluid / clutch fluid, and we should be all good to go after that. Definitely pretty dirty in here, but nothing a little rag won't clean out. There we go, nice and clean. All right, let's put the new one on. Definitely a little dirty in those lines, but it actuates perfectly and there is no longer any grittiness to the pole. So that's great. A couple more pumps like this and I think we're good to go. feel like if the dude already put this tank in here, I think he probably already connected it up. I'm probably just gonna throw some gas in there, see if it leaks. And if it doesn't leak, then I'll just assume it's all good. Onto the battery. Haha, this guy's got some aftermarket wiring in here for something. If I were to guess, it's probably underglow. He kind of strikes me. Yep, there is a switch right here for underglow. Lucky guess. Freak, thank you. Frick, this hole is so tight. Barely get it in and out. All right, I am inserting it into the hole. All right, moment of truth. Yup. It's buzzing really loud though. It's going away now. What the frick? I have no idea what that would be. But it looks like the screen works just fine. 22,995 miles on this bad boy. 98 degrees Fahrenheit it says, which is wrong. It's 110. All right, time for an oil change. Well, the dude was not lying when he said there was no oil in here. So let's get this oil filter off and then add some new oil to it. What the frick? Is that water? There is indeed liquid in here. There's a lot of fluid in here. Yeah, that looks like coolant, dude. This guy probably gave me a bike with some bad gaskets in the engine. Yeah, somebody lied somewhere. Obviously, looks like water and oil. Interesting. We're just gonna send it. I'm just gonna put oil in here, see if it'll even start. Guess there's no real reason not to try it right now. I can't say that I'm not nervous. Cranks just fine. Let's go. All right, let's put some gas in it. Hope this doesn't leak everywhere when I do it. Oh, freak. Time to give it the official shot. See if this thing will start up and run on its own. Come on, baby. Definitely don't hear the fuel pump priming. Hope I don't have to buy another fuel pump for this thing. Although it could be because there is that tilt sensor I mentioned. The gas light just turned on. I also just don't want to put too much gas in here, you know, if it's not even plugged in correctly. And the gas light's off. So, sensor's reading. It should be plugged in. Everything should honestly be good to go unless the fuel pump's out. Dang it, not cool. Well, all right, well, there you have it, everybody. Can't get it to fire up right now. All right, I'm just gonna check some, if I can check fuses. I have no clue about this bike, honestly. I've never worked on one.
I did a once over on the bike to see if I could spot any obvious damage to wiring, relays, or fuses that would affect the ignition and fueling systems, but to no avail.
Well, I wish there was something better to report here, but I just did a once over on this bike and checked all the wires. And while there is some wires broken and whatnot, nothing seems too far out of the ordinary, like it shouldn't be priming the fuel pump. Besides the coolant we found in the oil, and there's no coolant in here. There is some crusty coolant down there as if it was recently filled up. I don't want to suspect that that coolant was leaking into the engine and we just saw the remnants of it in the engine, but it's definitely not looking super promising. Engine start stop button, cranks when it's on, cranks when it's off. So there could be something going on with those wires. The bank angle sensor way down here is exactly where it should be, so I don't suppose that's the problem. The fuses up there looked fine. The wiring, for the most part, looks fine. The fuel pump obviously could just be jammed up and it's not actually working, even though it's getting signal. But I don't think it's getting electricity at all. We'll have to take all the plastics off and we'll have to check all the wiring and we'll have to check some of the relays and components and everything. But the aftermarket HID headlights do in fact work as they should, which is surprising. The underglow doesn't even work. It's just a big mystery at this point. And just the way it's cranking, I can tell it's just not getting fuel. It sounds like it's getting everything else. It's just that hollow crank of no fuel. I definitely didn't want this to be the case, but somebody was lying somewhere along the line. Even if he did send it to a mechanic, the mechanic might have just been like, yeah, it runs fine, didn't even test it. Or the dude knew exactly what was happening and the oil was mixing with the coolant and he just didn't want to deal with it, you know, without disclosing too much so he could get top dollar for a mystery bike. Spray some starting fluid in there, just see if it will actually fire up and if the ignition system's actually active, but it's just not getting any fuel. That will be an easy indicator. I think what we just learned, the takeaway from this is the ignition system is active, like it wants to run, not getting fuel. I'm going to start ripping all the bike apart and just getting it down to the bare components. So these items here were what I knew I needed to repair the bike. Got a new to me left-hand control switch here. Levers, grips, sprocket, and chain kit. I bought some OEM LED headlights in case the HIDs didn't work. Turn signals, and then a headlight stay bracket because this one is broken. And I did get a fairing kit for this thing and it's not the cheapest one I could buy. I bought the parts assuming that this is going to be the bike that I jump on most of the time. And so I bought the fairing kit based on what I would prefer. It is a full carbon fiber kit. Let's get every part out of the box, make sure it is the right kit. Hopefully the bike runs. Here is the fairing kit, you guys. It is a carbon fiber lookalike. It's not actual carbon fiber because that's expensive. But it also is not the cheapest kit I could get. There were some for like $380 range, like really, really cheap stuff. If I remember correctly, this one was about $550. I just like the look of this a lot better than the other kind of generic eBay looking kits. So right now, let me just take off all of the red fairings on this thing. Basically just strip the bike all the way down to where we would need it, where it's still functional, but we can slap all the cosmetic stuff back on whenever it's done. Brand new, very good day. Ryan said he's gonna come over here. So in the meantime, I'm just gonna get this thing completely cleaned up. He's gonna see if he can get it running, if it even does run. And while I'm here, I'm actually gonna diagnose the clutch lever that has no real pull on it. I didn't realize you actually have to bleed the clutch on these bikes. You bleed it kind of just like the brake lines. Pull, bleed, pull, bleed.
Hey guys, Christopher here, so
Oh yeah, that's a clutch pull now. It's getting hard. It's getting real hard. I think I overfilled the oil just a little bit, so I'm gonna drain a little bit out. All right, and with the oil a little bit more leveled off, this wheel is at a whopping 0 PSI. Since we've been working on this thing, it's starting to solve its own issues. I replaced the headlight stay bracket. All of a sudden the screen, the dash unit, doesn't buzz anymore. It doesn't have that super high pitched buzzing noise. It just turns right on like a normal bike. Let's see if the clutch actually works. So I'll put it in first. And then if I pull the clutch, no. No. Okay, well, if I put it in first with the kickstand down, what would happen if I tried to start it? Nothing, no crank. What if I pull the clutch in? Nothing, no crank. But with the kickstand up, clutch pulled in, let's see what it does. Nothing, no crank. Back in neutral, crank's just fine. Something's a little off. I just need to swap out some of the controls, a lever, couple other miscellaneous things here and there. And then hopefully when we get this thing running, it'll be fully operational and looking really good. Let's hope that's the case and not spending another $2,000 on an engine and a full engine swap.
So listen to this engine when you crank it over. So it's supposed to be like a linear sound.
I know what a motorcycle is supposed to sound like. It sounds like it's kind of forced. Yeah.
That part right there is kind of concerning me.
Yeah.
You hear that?
Yeah.
We're gonna have to check voltages to the fuel pump and all that stuff.
You charged me $50 for this, right?
How about $550?
$550.
It was pretty cool watching Ryan start digging into the problems with this bike. He has been working on cars and bikes for 15 years, and it was incredible just watching how quickly he got down to the heart of the problems on this mystery bike. A lot of the problems seemed super vague, but he just poked around in the bike and was able to pinpoint them really quickly. Words really don't do it justice here how grateful I am he was able to swing by and help me figure this out. I learned a lot just watching, and I think that's really cool. So I'll put a link to his channel in the description. He wants to definitely start posting a little bit more content on his channel. He has a lot of cool stuff going on, but he just needs to get some of that content out. So if you guys can go show him some love for all the help he's given me on this and the McLaren earlier this year, that would be awesome. He's a really good guy.
Okay, so what that tells us right now is we have ignition pulse and we have spark. All that's working. The cam timing's not screwed up. None of that stuff is messed up.
Good.
I didn't really hear anything crazy right now. So we get some fuel going to this thing and it might just fire up and run okay. And let's cross our fingers once we do get it to start here in a minute that it passes the hydrocarbon. So we're going to put a hydrocarbon test on it, make sure that the fluid doesn't change colors. And then if it doesn't change colors, your head gasket's probably good. And it's probably that oil cooler. But now we know fuel. That's our culprit. That's what we got to figure out how to get it to run. It ceased.
Yeah.
Right here somewhere. Just keep. This fuel pump is shot.
After officially verifying the fuel pump was seized up, Ryan went ahead and started looking into other smaller electrical problems. A lot of the power wires were only getting signal intermittently, and Ryan was able to figure out that that was all because of a faulty start-stop switch. Very good to know. So I went ahead and placed an order for a new start-stop switch and a new fuel pump and a couple other miscellaneous things I'll need, and they should all get here next week sometime.
Austin Motorsports Parts, this is Virginia.
Hey, what's going on? I'm looking for a fuel pump for an 06 CBR1000.
The only way for me to figure out which one would go to your bike, unless you already know, I'd have to call Honda, contact them with the VIN number.
Do you have them in stock too, both of those?
No, we'd have to order both of them.
Oh, I see. Okay. What are the prices for them?
The D21 part number would be $615.75, and the L21 part number would be $588.54.
Would that be installed or would that just be for the part?
That's just for the part. For installation, I'd have to direct you to service.
I see.
Yeah, there's quite the amount of rust in the tank, that's for sure. Look at this, dude.
What?
Look at this.
Oh, wow. Whoa.
Wow.
The eBay, they sell this exact specific thing for like $25.
We'll do a hydrocarbon test, and that'll for sure tell us if that motor is good or not.
Sweet. I can almost not believe it right now. That's insane. It actually runs.
Got to introduce coolant or water into the system real quick. If it runs that good after and it passes hydrocarbon, then I'll say, all right, spend the money to fix it. The motor's probably stuck. Once I get it started and running for a little bit, this is going to drain and go into the block. So we want to make sure that we get it all the way full to the top to get an accurate sample. Like, it's going to go in blue. And while it's running and we're pumping it, if it turns a different color than blue, then it's got a blown head gasket. So.
Okay, let's hope and pray.
Yep. Good. Watch what happens when it comes in contact with exhaust.
That's
so we
what
know.
I'm talking about.
We know there's no blown head gasket now.
That's what I'm talking about, dude. That's crazy.
No, that motor sounds really good. I didn't hear anything crazy going on with it. So however that coolant got there, or it's not internal.
Nothing catastrophic. So I'll order one of these fuel pumps. When that comes in, we can actually officially get this thing running on its own, hopefully.
So today, my job is to figure out why this bike isn't running on its own fuel. First step is obviously to replace the seized fuel pump. I was quoted $580 plus tax for an OEM fuel pump assembly from Honda, so I went ahead and bought a $50 rebuild kit from eBay instead. As you can see here, the old pump was rusted solid, and Ryan suspects the previous owner that laid the bike down and was trying to repair it actually tried starting the bike with a bunch of water in the tank, which would explain all the rust in the tank, the fuel pump, and the engine.
All right, before I install everything, I'm just gonna verify it actually works. This is the moment of truth right here. See if it'll give me some fuel. All right, ready, boys? Nothing, what the freak? What? Well, why does it not surprise me? I didn't even notice this fuel tank. Somebody had cut it or something, or it broke, and they just freaking epoxy JB welded this thing back in. So this tank was very cheap. Like, he got the crappiest one he could possibly find off of eBay trying to fix this thing. But hey, if it works, I guess. It's just really sketchy.
When the bike was laid down, it slid into a cattle fence through the windshield, which also ripped off the gas tank basically. So it seems the previous owner bought a cheap and damaged one off eBay to refurbish himself to save some money. So the fuel pump still wouldn't prime, but I knew I rebuilt it correctly, so I moved on to other smaller things to fix in the meantime, so we could sort any mechanical issues without fighting other broken parts at the same time. A lot of the handlebar hardware was damaged, so I had to swap almost all of that out. And the best part about this build is how insanely cheap parts are for it. Coming from the McLaren project, it feels like I'm almost cheating because it's so cheap. Headlights, $10. Clutch reservoir, $10. Levers, $12. This entire bike project will basically be less than buying one headlight for the McLaren. Absolutely insane. And I think my perspective of prices going forward will be forever skewed after the McLaren build. To hopefully fix the mixing oil and coolant problem, I suspected the oil cooler based on all the forums I was reading. Apparently those fail sometimes on these bikes, and the head gasket checked out, so I thought the only thing that it could be was the oil cooler. Anyway, so I went ahead and bought a known working condition used one on eBay for $15. I have yet to see if oil and coolant continues to mix since I haven't actually run the bike much yet, but let's hope that solved it. We found ourselves a Scorpio safety system that was aftermarket installed on the bike. So chances are, the previous owner had like a remote that he'd actually unlock the bike first, and then the key would turn the ignition on and the fuel pump would prime. So I'm gonna go ahead and remove this aftermarket Scorpio safety security device. Hopefully when I put the wiring back to stock, hopefully the fuel pump will prime and this bike should run as it was intended to. So yeah, that's where we're at today. Let's just get straight to work. Fuel pump problem is one of electronics and wiring. So I jump onto stripping the sketchy wiring the previous owner did and tidying up things a bit as far as wiring and electronics, and kind of just removing all of the sketchy modifications the previous owner did. Got ourselves a little house connector tie. That's nice. Yep, there's a wire. This is the wire for the right side turn signal that was just ripped off. So obviously some wiring got tugged here, and there is an empty connector right here, and there's just like clipped wires everywhere. Whoever was installing this stuff just clipped and didn't care. Ah, here's the turn signal wire that was just ripped out. Whoever installed all this stuff used these things because either that's all they had on hand or they didn't know how to solder. My guess would be they didn't know how to solder. It's basically how I was when I had my first bike, and I just learned all this stuff as I went. I wouldn't have replaced this, but you guys can see that the taillight, there's actually an LED out in the taillight. So luckily these are super cheap. I got the same exact one for like 25 bucks. We're gonna just swap it out real quick. Left side turn signal works, but the right side does not. So gotta rewire it anyway. Just slap a new one in here. Have one extra LED. Wow. Okay, check this out. So this brake light and tail light, so this tail light kit actually came with pinned ends. So you just swap them out with the OEM connector. Whoever wired in that last tail light had no idea what they were doing.
The ground wires and everything are already connected here, but they cut the actual ground wire to splice into the ground wire. Wow, not sketchy at all. So if I solder these ground wires back together, I should fix it. I can touch these two ends together, and if it fixes it, then wow, incredible. Look at that. They literally just cut the ground wire so they could splice into the exact same ground wire. Incredible work, everybody. So let's see if that turn signal will work. Look at that. So let's just re-solder this ground wire back together. Took all of 1 minute to do. And let's get the other turn signal wired in, and I think we're all good. This is gonna be a very satisfying thing to do right here. I'm gonna take this entire run of pretty janky wiring and replace it all with one nice and clean wire right in there. That's what was confusing me. It works great now. They had actually wired the tail light into the wrong connector. That's why they were trying to overcomplicate it, because their brains just could not compute why this wasn't working for the turn signal. Because this is the wrong connector, bro. It's literally sitting right here. I have no idea. I mean, they did tap into the correct power wire for the, but then they wired the turn signal straight into the wrong one. That is hilarious. And they ran it like this too. Like, it's not like it was just done. I guess last thing I'll do is just desolder. Oh, wow, I can see why they electrical taped this wire. It's completely broken, dog. Why you not just fix that? All right, let's see how she works. Right, left. Oh, there we go. One tail light, and lots of clean wiring. The underglow works fine. His little crimp connection just pulled right out, and I'm touching the end of the wire that had just broken off of his little crimp connection to the ground on the battery, and it works just fine. Just gonna leave it in. That is hilarious. Let's take these stupid HIDs out, and then we'll see what happens. Gotta love the sport bike bros. They just want as much street cred as possible with all their cool modifications at the expense of the bike actually running correctly. There's a couple of just completely loose wires. What the frick? Plus, taking the HIDs out will just clean up a lot of the wiring. And I already bought LEDs for it anyway, so no reason not to. I'm moving along getting the exhaust adjusted right now. If you look at it from the very back, the exhaust is crooked. Whoever installed this exhaust tightened it up here before they actually bolted it on here. So the angle that they clamped the pipe on was wrong. So yeah, and they were probably just like, F it, it's still gonna sound good, right? Wow, that was the easiest thing I've ever done. Made a huge difference for the look of the bike. Yeah, I think that's it. Cool.
I decided to move on to finishing the bike 100% besides the fuel problem. Sorting out wiring and electrical issues is pretty low on my favorite things to-do list, so I just wanted to finish the other things first and let my mind work on the wiring problem in that time. So once I got to it, I could focus 100% of my attention on it. The chain on this bike looked like it was going to snap at any moment and like it hadn't been lubricated for the life of the bike. So I bought a full chain and sprocket kit to slap on there in the meantime.
Thank you.
The wheels I actually had thought were a sketchy spray paint job from the previous owner, but after a thorough wash and degreasing, they actually got their OEM shine back a little bit. And I went ahead and threw a graphics kit on them for that extra razzle dazzle.
Wow. Okay, so it's a new day and I'm just gonna kind of recap what we've been finding on this bike. It is 100% ready to go right now, besides it not getting fuel because the fuel pump is not turning on. I think I've narrowed it down to a loose or a broken wire somewhere. I checked all the fuses, I checked all the relays. I checked that the computer was getting power, verified the bank angle sensor is working and upright. So as far as I can tell, there is a fuel wire that seems to not be connected somewhere. I picked up a cable tracker from Harbor Freight for like, I think it's $14.99. You basically connect the power end to a single wire and it powers that one wire. And this is my first time using it, so we'll see if this actually works. But ground to the battery, ground, then the positive terminal on there. And you can see if I pull it and go farther away. I definitely think we just found it. Yeah, wow, there's a clean slice in there. I cannot believe we just solved this in 5 minutes. That's insane. Look at that, no way.
Funny how having the right tools for the job makes it a lot easier. It's crazy to me that all the issues getting this bike to run came down to one cut wire on the entire bike. And I actually very much suspect someone cut that wire intentionally from how clean it was.
Hypothetically, if I were to turn the key on, hey! We have a running bike, everybody. The one wire to break was the most important wire on the entire bike. All right, here's the moment of truth. Let's see if it'll fire up under its own fuel. A little bit nervous, but I think we're ready. What a fantastic sound. Sounds a little sputtery. Seems to sound all right though. The last concern we have still is the coolant mixing with the oil. But I think that's because he was running the bike with water in the tank. I think that's how it worked some water into the system. The bike is from 2006, almost 20 years old. To me, it feels still like a newer bike. I can't believe these things are 19 years old now. No leaks that I can see. All the smoke has kind of burned itself off. Very good sounding bike, that's for sure. It's definitely stuttering. It feels like it's not running on every cylinder. We'll just assume it's a low fuel issue.
I decided to get an official inspection done to see why I found coolant in the oil during the first oil change. The head gasket test we did seemed to check out, so now it's either a faulty oil cooler or water pump. So I found a veteran-owned shop and I decided it's worth a $75 diagnostic fee to get the bike inspected and our problem pinpointed. I mean, if there is a problem at all.
All right, I may just take it in. I don't have time to deal with this stuff. I'm trying to finish this McLaren, man.
So I loaded it up that night and I brought it over the next morning.
It sounds healthy enough. I think I'm gonna just inspect that water pump and then run it and see if it mixes anything.
With a clean bill of health from Jeremy, the shop owner, I brought it back home to finish the project.
thing is violently fast. Just hit 23,000 miles on it right now. This is the very first model of bike that I ever fell in love with. This is the first time actually like riding one. I just love the CBR of this era. So it's really cool to have been able to rebuild one. And this had been one of my dream bikes for so long, and I just finished building it, but I mean, I'm ready to move on to other projects, you know? Realistically, I'm not gonna ride this thing a whole ton, you know, family man and all that. People depending on me. I just don't end up riding that much, so might as well let somebody actually enjoy this bike. Let's get home and I'll say my farewells to this thing.
So there you have it. I took a crashed 2006 Honda CBR1000RR I bought for $2,250 and rebuilt it into my dream bike, a full carbon fiber monster that just looks and sounds amazing. And man, what a beautiful bike it is. Thoroughly enjoyed riding this bike for a couple months, but I realize now I just don't ride it enough to justify keeping it. And at this point, I could use the money for the last push on the McLaren project. So preparing to sell it, I gave it a full detail. And after ceramic coating it, the bike legitimately looked brand new. I could not believe my eyes that this was a 19-year-old bike. I had truly done it. I built my dream bike, and so it was a hard one to let go. But I ended up selling it for $5,200, which left me a couple $1,000s of profit on the tail end. And what a fun journey it was, with a lot of great moments and even more frustrating ones trying to get the thing running after finding out the previous seller tried to scam me on it. And I'll be doing more motorcycle projects very soon, so stay tuned, subscribe, hit that like button, and I'll catch you guys next time.